Hey everyone, me and Parker Wildbeck have personally come together because we simply want to make Full-Time Filmmaker a course available for everybody out there. So if you want to get 25% off the course, all you have to do is click the link down below, put in the code right here, and you got 25% off. See ya, Full-Time Filmmaker.
Hey everyone, my name is Micah Farmer. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much for watching this video. In today's video, I'm going to react to the very first wedding video I ever made. I'll talk a little bit about it. First of all, like I said, this was the first one I ever made. I was super nervous about it, but it was two of my best friends who were getting married, and I was super excited about it at the same time. So let's go ahead and watch it, and I'll talk through some of the stuff that happened during this day. And stuff that I've learned, stuff that you can probably learn from, and so forth. So let's go ahead and get started. I love the tilt down shots. It's like a revealing shot, just very cinematic. This was just some random field with a bunch of this tall weed stuff. I thought it looked kind of cool and, you know, woodsy. So they're a very rustic family. So, quick thing about this shot right here, this was during the makeup session. I had a behind-the-scenes videographer with me on this one. It was my first one I ever made, so I just wanted somebody to film behind the scenes just to see how it went. So, I had a guy, a friend of mine, came out, recorded the behind the scenes, and this shot right here was actually because of him. I was filming a bunch of other stuff, and I was actually standing in a corner trying to figure out, you know, what would be a cool shot, and he actually leaned over at me. And he's like, you know what would be kind of cool is if you put the camera really high, because I have the Glidecam HD2000, which is what I record weddings with and everything else I record with. But anyway, he leaned over to me and told me it would look cool if you put your camera up high and did a pan of the lights up above. I love the far focus of her and the close blurred of that like can of spray there. It's a very cinematic feel. So funny thing with this right here, so you'll see she's on her phone right now. Me and my behind the scenes videographer and the photographer of the wedding were all behind her at one point. I'll see if I can't find the picture and pop it up right here for you guys to see it. It's kind of funny. So she took this photo, and it's me, my behind the scenes videographer, and the photographer all, you know, taking our videos and photos and stuff. And she put it on Instagram and Facebook. She's like, I feel like a celebrity because she has cameras everywhere. So it was kind of humorous there. I do shoot at 60 frames per second, and then I'm gonna stop it. I shoot at 60 frames per second, and then I slow it down to 24 and post in Premiere Pro CC. I want to talk about this shot just real quick. I learned this shot. I learned this technique. I love it so much. It's such a cinematic technique. So what you do is you go up to the object or the person or whatever you're filming anyway. You focus in really tight on them. Then you back up about, I don't know, a few feet or whatever you feel comfortable, and you do a pan forward to them. And what it does is it's blurred, and then it just appears. It's a very emotional type of look. So. It said I don't do makeup and stuff like this a whole lot anymore, just because she requested it personally, but I don't like doing it anymore just because it shows a little bit of imperfection in the bride and stuff like that, and I like to make the wedding video as cool as possible and as beautiful as possible for them. So it's just a preference that I do that I don't do it. Real quick, this right here, we went out, did the first look inside of a barn. This day, by the way, the day of the wedding was about 115 degrees with a heat index, which raised it up to about 120 degrees. So this barn, you wouldn't know it in the film because we don't ever say anything like that. But if you watch the behind the scenes, you'll know it. But this actual barn right here, inside of it had to be at least 125 degrees. It was toasting all of us alive, and it was so hot. But I had to go up, because if you look at the shot right here, you'll see a ladder in front of her face here. I actually climbed up that ladder, went into the loft, and this barn is really old. So like when we drove up to it, I noticed it was like one of those barns that looks like it might fall over any minute. So I looked over at my behind the scenes videographer while we were in my truck driving to it, and I'm like, if I yell, get out of here, get out of here. But anyway, I was walking up on the loft, getting some shots with my Glidecam and everything, like the first shot you just saw of the high shot there. And I remember a board like creaked on me and it almost broke. And I was like, if I fall through this loft, it's gonna be a bad day. So I was just praying that that did not happen. Close focus on him, blurred on her. So this was kind of funny, honestly. So I shared this this photo right here on my Instagram or something like that. I forget where I showed it. The photographer messaged me back when I shared it and said, dude, it literally looks like he has no head. Because if you look at it, he's bent over all the way, but it looks like he has no head. And I wrote back, I'm like, dude, I never even realized that. That's kind of funny. So just a little humorous there, but yeah. This shot was amazing. So the wind was coming in. It was a windy day, very windy day actually. But the wind was coming into the barn, and basically it was blowing her hair everywhere, which made it look all the more cinematic. I was walking back, and this was one of my favorite shots of the entire day. Was this right here? So one quick tip I want to tell you guys right now is, one of my biggest things is when you're recording a wedding, you want to get it as natural as possible. If they're looking at you, I feel like I know they have a tendency of looking at you like that, you know, because a photographer, you don't have to worry about motion really at all. But as a videographer, they can look fake a lot of times. So what I do is, a lot of my recording happens when the photographer is talking to them, kind of guiding them through what to do. I get a lot of my shots because then that way they're kind of laughing and stuff like that. It looks so much more natural. This shot right here, I went to the barn. I came out of the back way where the back door was of the barn, and it turned out awesome. This is one of the money shots right here. You do, like right here, I focused in really close at first to her, then I backed up several feet, had him walk, she was blurred, he was in focus, and then I walked forward, and it's like one of those shots to where it focuses in, and it's like one of those big money shots that you want to get at a wedding. It's so cinematic if you can. Right there, photographer's talking to them, made them laugh a little bit, so obviously I recorded it. I tried to use the backlight as a little bit of lighting there. Again, this was my first wedding, so there's some shots in here that I wouldn't have gotten originally if it would have been like a like a little bit more of experience in it. But honestly, it's not really that bad for my first wedding. This shot right here, I wanted to make it look like I was on a camera track, like going forward slowly, like on a track. It turned out really good. This was with my Glidecam again. I just went slowly forward. Again, recording 60 down to 24, creates that cinematic look. Then focus in on that, a little bit of cinematic feel there. You always want to try to get shots of the parents with the daughter who's getting married. It always adds a little bit of an extra feel. This shot right here killed me. So this was one thing that was kind of hard to learn for me anyway, is that you always want to run on autofocus on a wedding. I ran on manual focus on this wedding because it's my first wedding, and that's one of the biggest things I learned on this wedding. I ran on manual focus. If you notice, the guy right here is somewhat in focus. My focus was about right here. And so therefore I was off a little bit. I ran a sharpness filter through it. I tried to make it look as sharp as possible. The bride said she loved it, but you know, as a videographer for weddings, you want to make it look so good and everything. So now I run autofocus all the time, unless it's a very unusual circumstance. I have to run manual focus, but usually autofocus wise, this would have not been so blurry. So movement equals emotion. If you have still video, and if you record your wedding video still, that's fine, but movement equals emotion, and I love making movement in it, even a little bit of wave here and there, just something very, very cinematic, natural. It just adds to the emotion of the actual wedding itself. I did a lot of revealing here, so forth. Oh yeah, one thing I do want to point out here is that they wanted to have their vows recorded in the background of the wedding video, and I did not have a personal mic to stick on them. I did not have any mic to stick by them. I was running off of my Rode Mic Pro. Rode Mic Pros are amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love them. I fully support Rode in a lot of things. But when you're recording a wedding, do not use a Rode Mic Pro for the vows, because you'll get the crowd noise and everything coughing somewhat. So the first video this is actually the second video I made for them, because I did a preview for them, and then they told me a few things they wanted me to change. I told them that the audio, I didn't like it, and thank goodness they were fine with it. But that's just one of the things to look out for. If you're going to record vows, either have a personal mic on the groom or the pastor, or have a external mic stuck somewhere beside them to where you can create that cinematic audio. Do not use a camera mic, because you will get the muffling of the crowd basically. And you'll notice I didn't have it in this video. I took it out just because I did not like how it sounded, and they were totally fine with it. But again, you want to make sure you have that stuff good. And you might notice I'm doing this according to the timeline of the day and everything. So like with the photos, what I do is, with the photo wise, I wait till the photographer is taking photos, because then they're smiling. If the photographer's not taking photos, more than likely they are not going to be smiling. You want them to smile during the photos. You want them to look, natural and everything. So they're looking away from you. You don't want them looking at you, unless that's your preference. I prefer them not to look at me, because it's more of a natural feel to the video. So therefore, the whole time the photographer's taking photos, the only thing you have to worry about is the photographer's camera light flashing. So I edit all this stuff with the flash out and stuff like that. So again, looking at the photographer, I do side shots, make it look a little bit more cinematic there. Close-ups there. This shot right here. So this was the hard part about the reception. The reception was dark, and I totally understand during a wedding, and probably when I get married someday, I'll probably have the same thing, honestly. But anyway, during the reception, it was dark. So you're going to notice that there's a lot of dark shots in here. I tried to sharpen it up. One thing you'll notice to watch out for, and I caught this, I catch this now. Before I didn't really, bother with it. This fan right here, it's not very cinematic. I wanted to do an entrance into it. So what I should have done beforehand was I should have cut this out right here. So the fan's right there, just something to watch out for if you're beginning wise. But anyway, that's something that I personally learned from this video. I love this shot. Kind of cool. This was a difficult shot, anyway. I wanted to get the reception, because I wanted to get where the reception was going to be, because the bride's dad designed all this stuff, designed the area anyway. So I wanted to capture a lot of the stuff for the bride anyway, because she told me ahead of time about all that stuff, and it was hard. One thing I would suggest is carry a camera light with you if you have someone holding it, because I would have had them shine it on this sign right here. I didn't have it here. That is one thing I do suggest now, is carry a camera light with you. Have someone hold it on an object that you're filming, especially if it's dark like this, because it just doesn't have the same feel if it's not lightened up a little bit. This right here, there was a walkway. This was a second story walkway. I walked around. Try to get a different shot. Again, it's dark, so it's gonna be kind of hard to see that. Just get some sliding close-ups, very cinematic feel to it. I love this shot so much because it's so funny. I just wish I had it on autofocus and not manual focus. Manual focus killed me on this video, because I in my head I'm thinking manual focus, that way I don't have to bother with autofocus, but honestly autofocus is way so much better. So I was stuck up on this one thing to where you go into tracking and or speed duration in Adobe, and you speed it up. I want to do something cool. I did it a little bit too fast, I think. It looks good, but I would have slowed it down a little bit more than that. It was just a little too fast now that I look at it. Back then it looked cool to me, but now I think it's a little bit too fast. this shot was money right here. I love the shot. Get close-ups of the sparklers. Just so cool. I use speed duration to speed up the process of him walking around the vehicle to get in. So in case you guys were wondering about that. Again, manual focus versus autofocus. Autofocus, I would have had this car in focus. Manual focus, I was out of focus. And even if you're off focus for about a foot or, you know, something like that, you can tell. So run autofocus. It will make your life so much easier, especially during a wedding video. Now, I manual focus, there are times that you do want to use manual focus, honestly, but especially during a wedding, you do not want to chance it. One thing I learned after this wedding. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And like I said, I wanted to react to this because it's my first wedding video I ever made. I've learned some things from it, some things not to do, some things to do, and so forth. So if you guys want to see more of this from other wedding videos that I've recorded and will be recording and so forth, let me know down in the comment section. Go ahead and push the like button on this video if you enjoyed it. Greatly appreciate that. And of course, as always, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Have a great day.